Welcome back, everybody. So today we are talking to women of influence, and my next guest holds a very important position in governing the football structures in this country as the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Football Association. We're talking to Lydia Monyepao, who's in studio with us right now. Lydia, welcome. How are you feeling?
Excited, nervous at the same time, but thanks for having me this morning, and good morning to the viewers at home.
This is such an exciting moment. I mean, obviously we're seeing the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. It's an event that's been growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, and at a very healthy rate, and it just shows you how successful women's football is becoming. So how far are we in terms of trying to host a Women's World Cup in this country?
Look, we are close because we put up our hands to say we are interested in hosting the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup in South Africa, and we are working on that process now. Actually, we are on our way to Australia for the bid observer workshop that will be happening from the 2nd of August until the 9th of August in Australia. So we are really interested, and we are really working hard behind the scenes together with Russell Paul to ensure that this becomes a reality.
It would be amazing. Can you imagine? I mean, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the stadium, and what we're hoping is for the massive support. Let's talk about that support for Banyana Banyana. I mean, the build-up to this World Cup, we obviously saw just before the departure, we saw an issue that arose, but hopefully that has all been sorted. But in terms of the public and their support towards the team, have you seen it grown over this build-up to the World Cup?
Look, the support for women's football generally has been immense, and Banyana Banyana, it's become the public's favorite, especially following the women's AFCON, after they were crowned champions. Everyone is excited about Banyana Banyana. They've had massive support, people coming to their games, and actually people following individual players, so to speak. So the players are big. Some of them are playing in Europe, in the US as well. So women's football has really grown a lot, and someone said, the future of football is feminine. So you can see, in terms of the growth of women's football globally. It's not only in South Africa, but globally as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we see the stands, but it's also one of the things that we have to worry about in terms of the shortcomings when it comes to women's football. And I mean, a tournament of this magnitude, one would have believed that before they had left, and I think we need to speak about it, the issue of compensation, and it's been a very sticky issue. So perhaps you can give us an update on that situation now. As much as we as South Africans support them, the organizations in charge need to support them immensely. So how did we get to a situation where players were complaining on the eve before they were leaving about compensation, and how do we avoid this in the future?
I think for me it was just a matter of misunderstanding or miscommunication, so to speak, because FIFA came on board to say these are the prize monies that will be paid to footballer to the players, and that was for all the football players, whether you're in the group stages, you're in the round of 16, etc. So the amounts were put on the table, and it was for the public to see. As far as we were concerned, everyone knew what the players were going to be paid, but someone came to say, but you never put it on paper, you never wrote it. But the contract actually that we're working on was the 2022 AFCON World Cup. We were just trying to amend that contract so that we can get it to be on in line with the World Cup, to show the figures that FIFA had given us. But obviously players came on board to say, over and above what we're getting from FIFA, what else is the association giving us? But the people have to understand that the money that we paid the players in 2019 was actually the money that came from FIFA. So this money that FIFA put on the table was actually the money that we're going to give them anyway. But people are expecting the association to find money elsewhere and put on top of what FIFA is giving them over and above, what has been agreed. So obviously there was a misunderstanding. We had to make sure that we resolve it, but we didn't actually have, the funds to do that. But fortunately, Motsepe Foundation and Ituba came on board, and they gave us they pledged 6 million so that the players can get something over and above what they're going to be getting as prize money from FIFA.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of misunderstanding, miscommunication. I think that's one thing we learned better, just more open communication going into the future, and just concluding the contract well in advance before the last 23 or 26 is selected.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be getting onto a plane and going and playing your heart out without even having signed a contract. I mean, you as a former player would know that. I mean, you know what's going through their hearts and minds at this point. As much as you do it for your country and for the passion, this is a career. This is a career of theirs, and we know, unfortunately, how particularly women's sports stars struggle, because when it comes to the monetary compensation, it's just not there. And you know this all too well.
Yeah, Lee, and I can tell you, I didn't get paid much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got 100 rand if I was lucky. We played for more than the money, because the money wasn't there back then. But I think the players of Banyana Banyana, the former players, the legends, can be proud of the legacy they've left for the current players right now. It was their fighting, it was them being vocal, and us as well being vocal about what needs to happen in women's football to be on the same level and to be respected and recognized the same way as Bafana. But obviously, something that we have to work on as an association is the professionalization of women's football.
Absolutely.
Because as much as the women get money going to the World Cup, what happens when they come back? Because we've got the Hollywood-Bet Super League, but most of the teams in the league do not have the necessary funding to be able to give the players a monthly salary that is reasonable enough to be able to take care of themselves. So for us, the next few years, it's on focusing on professionalizing the women's sport, so that the girls can actually be compensated on a monthly basis to take care of themselves and their families.
Yeah, and this is exciting, and I'm glad you brought up the Hollywood-Bet Super League. How far are we from actually making this league fully professional for players? Because this will allow them to focus completely on the game. They'll earn a decent living, and it'll change their lives, and they can focus on the game, which I imagine when you're not focusing on the game and having to worry about getting part-time jobs and all of that, it takes away from your training.
It does, and you'll see that a lot of our players in the league are either students, full-time students, or some of them have got part-time jobs, as you say, or full-time jobs. So you find that they're training after hours. They have to run from work to training, the things that we used to do as well. But I think we are close to professionalization of the women's game, but far at the same time, because that is dependent on corporate South Africa to come on board and give us the funding, because that depends on the funding, because it means that we can give the teams and also the teams can go out there and find sponsors for themselves, so that they've got enough in the kitty to take care of the player salaries as well as the technical staff, because you can't be playing the players but you're not playing the technical staff. You have to have a decent team around, technical team around the actual players, so that the girls can also reach a certain level of playing quality football and being competitive in the league. But to me, it's all about funding. If we get the sponsors on board, it will really assist us in fast-tracking the professionalization of women's football. But the 2027 bid, I think it's really key, because it will increase the exposure of women's football in media, through the fans, and also corporate South Africa to come on board and see actually the value they can get from being attached with women's football.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to continue talking to you, but Kate is standing by. Kate Nokwe, look who she's joined by. We got one of the former Bafana captains there. So, Kate, I know. I mean, it's an exciting morning. I've got Lydia in studio with me, so we're talking all about women and how we're doing and getting behind this team. But it's nice to see who you joined by. Perhaps you want to chat a little bit to him, and then we'll come back to studio.
Absolutely, and I want to pick up on what you were asking Lydia about professionalizing the Hollywood-Bet Super League, for example, and how much difference that will make to for these ladies. Aaron is somebody who knows all the pressure playing a professional sport, and especially in a World Cup year. But let's go back to what I was Leanne and Lydia talking about in studio. Professionalizing women's football, how much of a difference would that make?
It will make a very, very big impact. We know right now women football is growing. Banyana actually are showing case by obviously playing in the higher stage of football. But I always say again that we have an HPC, High Performance Center in Pretoria, where I think this badge is the first badge. Watch the space, 2027, they will be even better. So coming back to your question, it's important to have, women football league, to be important, nationalize or professionalize, whatever you want to call it, but it's important to have that league and pay the girls well. I'm happy that the president, Patrice Motsepe said it that pay your employees. And look, as SAFA, we're saying the girls will get paid. Definitely they will, because we want to see the upcoming ones. These ones they need to pave ways for the others.
Yeah, I mean, to think that a majority of these ladies are not playing professional football and also still are able to represent South Africa at international level, how much grit and determination did that take?
It takes a lot. It actually takes me back to our squad that have qualified 2000 Olympics, where the money wasn't much. I know that we can talk about the Dr. Kumalos, the Lucas Radebes and stuff, but we have the team that have beat Brazil, Ahmad Lukluk back then. We were not getting paid. We went to the Olympics and we never got paid. But the fact of the matter is that we had that big heart, the character. We wanted to represent the country. Yes, at times it's all about the money, but the character and determination, it's very, very important, more especially to represent your country. I'm still standing here as the most kept Bafana player of history. Not because of money. Money wasn't the first thing, but playing for my country, I wanted to break barriers. These girls and boys, they need to really think in that manner. Then money will come. Now I'm a retired football, but there are things that I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. A quick one before I let you go. What are the ladies feeling right now, leading up to this World Cup? You know that pressure.
Behind the scene, having spoken to a couple of them, they're excited. There's they're not nervous. They're looking. Actually, they want to make sure that they showcase for South African football.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Aaron Mokoena, former captain of Banyana Banyana. Bafana, I should say. I mean, speaking of making mistakes, I think you called Lucas Radebe there. I don't know about that. We're going to chat off air. Back to you guys in studio.
Thanks very much, Kate. Okay, I've still got Lydia in studio, so I'm going to chat to Lydia very quickly and just wrap up things. And Lydia, one of the things that I'm loving is the fact that if I look at my daughter at school, in her grade, okay, I'm a netball mom, so excuse me, but a lot of the other moms are soccer moms because at the moment their daughters are loving soccer. It's through the junior school and the high school, and I'm seeing that happening everywhere. And there are leagues starting, there are competitions starting. The amount and number of schools that are part of this are brilliant. So starting this at school level and showing that the girls are doing exceptionally well, that must do so much for the game as well.
It does. I mean, school sport has been, the key area that we're focusing on now, especially with the introduction of the African school school championships, football championships that started last year. We've competed there twice already. So it means that the players in school level, they've got the pupils have got a platform where they can showcase their talent to the African continent at an earlier stage, and they become competitive in their provinces, in their schools, in their regions, etc. So I thanks to the Department of Sport and the Department of Education, because those are the partners that we work closely with in terms of increasing the exposure and participation of girls in football in school level. But obviously Banyana Banyana's participation at the World Cup, at the Women's AFCON, at the Olympics is also key, because these are the role models to show the girls at the younger age what's possible for a women's football player, where they can get to. So it inspires other people, the young players. So school sport is very key for us. It's the future of Banyana Banyana.
It really is. I remember growing up, that wasn't even an option. And I would have played because I was such a tomboy. So I would have loved to have been playing football, but it was not an option. Yeah. And now it is, and it's taken very seriously, which I love. One of the other issues, before I let you go, Lydia, obviously it's the player welfare, because going out there onto a global stage, these ladies need to be looked after. And we know that mentally it was tough for them before they departed, but I think they got onto the plane and they felt a lot more comfortable in terms of contracts, remuneration. But if we look at the personal needs of women, are they being taken care of? They're on the team. Do we have a psychologist that are with them? We look at England, and this is quite an important topic. They're wearing navy blue shorts instead of the white shorts to help the players that are going through their cycle. The natural progression of a woman. These are the things that we go through. Women are mothers. What is done to help them as mothers? Are these kind of things thought of as they enter into this competition?
I think it's something that as an association we've started looking closely into. Compared to 2019 is something that we hadn't, I don't think we're on the same level as your England, your Australia, etc. But now we've come on board. The team is now traveling with a psychologist.
Wonderful.
That, it checks on their well-being as well, how well they're doing, preparing for the games mentally as well as dealing with other issues. We also have a biokineticist in the team that is responsible for rehabilitation, quicker rehabilitation of injuries that they get through training. But that person is also is a specialist as far as the woman's menstrual cycle is concerned. So they've actually done studies in terms of the effects that a menstrual cycle has got on the performance of a women's football player. So it's something that we've got an app that traces those things, so that we can get the girls to perform at their peak when they're on their periods, etc. So it's something that we're taking care of, because we do understand that the men's football players don't necessarily need as much attention as the women. So slowly but surely we're getting to learn. I mean, it's only our second World Cup, but we have to learn at a very fast pace, so that we take care of this well-being of our girls, so that they can be at their best. They don't have to worry about other things outside their forward lines.
Absolutely. And just focusing on the performance on the field, I mean, it was quite wonderful to actually see the Bulls giving contracted players an option of having caregivers if they are mothers. I mean, these are the things we need to see happening. Thank you. Lydia, thank you. When are you going? Are you going to go down?
I'm going on Monday.
You're going on Monday?
Mostly, I'll get to see one game at least.
But
I'm mostly going there for the 2027 Bid Observer program.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be able to stay there as we make it to the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and then the finals. Who knows? And we'll bring that trophy home.
Go Banyana.
Exactly. Go Banyana Banyana. So that's talking to us here this morning, Lydia Monyepao, who is the SAFA CEO, talking to us. Banyana Banyana, as the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, kicks off this morning. In fact, it did half an hour ago. The opening ceremony is taking place, and that's what's happening right now.